Today we are adventuring on the wonderful Benefits Plant Lake in Marianna, Florida. This is a cavern plunging story not at all like anything I've recently told. A jumper named Raymond and his family entered one of the most difficult and dangerous caverns on the planet. Going with Raymond was his little girl Alexandra, and his child. Cave jumping is an extremely hazardous investigation to endeavor. The completely clear waters of twin caverns can be charming to jumpers, however its magnificence covers risky that many prepared, unpracticed jumpers know about. To begin with, labyrinth-like caverns are normally thoroughly dark, which can be perplexing and confounding, and sediment particles at the base could limit perceivability. What's more, the twin caverns is rough and has highlights that harm scuba gear and can cause plunging hardware disappointments. A cavern voyager Andy Pitkin once described his experience: the quickly streaming spring water frequently contains rock and shell particles which can find their direction into every last bit of stuff, making jumping gear jam. Twin caverns channels into Merritt's Plant Lake in Jackson Province, found Equity, Marianna, Florida. The view of the twin caverns is stunning, and this could make sense of why Raymond and his family endeavored to make a plunge in spite of the dangers. In the wake of hearing 2 or 3 captivating tales about the twin caverns, Raymond also, his family needed to encounter it themselves on the jump day. The water was completely clear with many shades of blue. The gathering put on their stuff, wished each other karma, and gradually plunged beneath the water. They then swam to the entry of twin caverns, where they could see another party of jumpers emerging from the passage through the perfectly clear water. The primary individual to enter the cavern was Alexandra, who was in practically no time followed by her dad and her siblings. She was conveying a single-handed grip, plunge light, and a solitary tank. She was stunned at the cavern's excellence when her light enlightened a piece of it. The cavern has astounding qualities that made plunging loads of enjoyable. To try not to harm her gear, Alexandra's main issue was to try not to swim excessively near the side. She likewise needed to ensure that her dad and sibling remained along the jump line and simply behind her. She utilized an all-over shutter kick to go through the cavern, working up the sediment that was beginning to aggregate and deter her vision. She expected to be that assuming she continued to swim, the degree of silk would ultimately lessen. However, it just deteriorated out of nowhere. It occurred to her that she was unable to see anything. Her breathing got weighty and precarious. She unexpectedly ended up in a perilous circumstance. With this occurrence, she chose to pivot to check whether her dad and her sibling were still behind her. Anyway, they were not there. They should have additionally lost their weight between every one of the residues flying wherever. This got her worried, and she began kicking much harder, raising all the more so to the surface. In the process, in the end, she was unable to see her hands before her face. As this was occurring, the other gathering of jumpers that Alexandra met before started to notice the massive silk cloud, however neglected to focus on Alexandra, her father, and her sibling. The head of this gathering, Andrea, figure that Alexandra and her family should have made it out, or possibly Andrea was trusting that was the case. Andrea and her team understood that they were in a perilous circumstance and that they expected to move beyond the sediments and out of the cavern quickly. Andrea motioned toward her better half and her companion to intently follow her. What's more, with a touch of karma on their side, they escaped the silted region before they could get caught. As the sediment topped off the majority of the cavern, Raymond forgot about Alexandra and he drove further into the cavern to search for his girl. Fortunately, he saw as her and motioned toward her that they expected to get out quickly. They were alongside one another, yet they could scarcely see each other's appearances. This is when frenzy set in. Raymond snatched his girl as he speculated which course was the entry of the cavern, and they began swimming that way. Tragically, they had no clue about what direction was out, as they were dazed by the sediment. As they were swimming, Raymond found a wall and they moved along it by feeling it. The risk here is that on the off chance that they were to erroneously hit something sharp and a shaper took out their jumping gear, they would be in a desperate circumstance. In a bid to ensure this didn't occur, Raymond let go of Alexandra to rapidly change his air tank inline to safeguard his stuff. When he arrived at back for her, he was unable to find her. He understood that the circumstance had deteriorated, and without giving it much thought he chose to proceed with the wall, trusting that Alexandra had done likewise. He gained huge headway, and as time passes he could see that the sediment was beginning to get out, which provided him with a gigantic moan of help. He had the option to arrive at the surface, and he took a full much-needed refresher as he got out of the water. As he was floating, he searched for his little girl Alexandra, yet he was unable to find her any place before Raymond escaped the cavern. Andrea and her gathering of jumpers found something. It was Raymond's child. He snatched Andrea and she offered him the go-ahead to leave the cavern. Raymond's child. Andrea and her significant other had the option to escape the cavern before they were in any peril, but by a fortunate turn of events Raymond's child encouraged Andrea and her significant other to call crisis administrations, as the remainder of his family might be caught inside the twin caverns. As they were talking, Raymond swam towards them and requested from anybody had seen Alexandra. They generally said no. Apprehension struck Raymond, as he understood that his girl might be caught in the cavern's power outage. Raymond started quickly scanning the entry of the cavern for any indications of his girl. Anyway, Andrea and her significant other had the option to quiet him down, and they set a call up with cavern salvage expert Ed Sorensen. When he arrived, he changed into his scuba gear and entered the water. At first it was difficult to come by the entry as it was as yet silted. He in the long run tracked down the entry, and as he entered he tied on an essential reel utilizing the go jump line and began making a flood design. As he cleared his arms in the water he didn't feel anything, and it appeared as though there was no time to spare. While he was looking through, Alexandra found an air pocket in the cavern. However, she didn't enter the air pockets with a ton of carbon monoxide. Ed actually had not found anything as of now, and his air was running out. Unexpectedly his arm hit something and he swam toward it to investigate. It was Alexandra's leg. He then, at that point, swam up to the air pocket where he met her crying. His need was to put forth a valiant effort to hold her back from terrifying, as that could exacerbate things for the two of them. Ed concluded the most effective way was to follow the crisis line that he had attached to the beyond the cavern, and afterward things turned out to be more regrettable. They wound up distant from the exit and their genuine gone head-to-head with Alexandra all through the outing back. Ed attempted to quiet her somewhere around, guaranteeing her that he would bring her home securely. He dumped the line and set Alexandra loose, which implied that they were presently swimming visually impaired anyway. Because of Ed's knowledge of the twin caverns, he had the option to explore out with Alexandra, just utilizing his instinct. How about they have kept away from this present circumstance? I truly want to believe that you partook in this video. Jump further into the channel for more happy like this, yet don't get stuck. See you on our next plunge.